James, what's your topic? What'd you bring to the show today?
Well, obviously this week, AEW announced that they are going back on tour in July. I would expect WWE is going to go when I think from last I read, the current version of the Thunderdome is set to expire the first week of August. So I don't anticipate another Thunderdome residency. And not to give credit to Jim Cornette, depending how you feel about Jim Cornette, but I think he brought up a great point about why AEW is the first one that I didn't think about, and it's the fact that they probably need the money. Not need the money, meaning they're in risk of going out of business, but besides having a building that they're using for free, they have operating costs that they've been losing on. Like WWE's been making money hand over fist with all the new TV deals and the cock deal and all of that, where AEW, they're paying out roster money, but they're not bringing in a lot of ticket gates. So, this is something that they probably needed more than WWE did. So I don't see WWE cashing out on the Thunderdome before the residency ended. But, we're probably getting near the end of the pandemic era of wrestling where we're in empty buildings or Thunderdome buildings or Daly's Place with minimal crowds, etc. So what are some of your favorite moments from the pandemic era that we've had since, for the last 13 and a half months? If anybody wants to go first, or if you want me to give any of mine, give one of mine, I can do that.
I'll jump in. One of my favorite things has been the way that some of the different companies have kind of utilized a situation that they wouldn't have otherwise, i.e. AEW doing Stadium Stampede. Like, you would never in a million years, where live audiences are a thing, have Stadium Stampede as a match. Might you in the future still have that as like a TV match or something? Could you get away with that one day? Probably. But not when audiences are back. You're not going to be trying to do stuff like that. Not anytime soon.
Just as long as you don't tell the fans that it's going to be the first hour of the show is going to be that
Jesus,
shown on a screen.
Yeah. No, so like I've enjoyed stuff like that. Like I'm not the hugest fan of cinematic matches, but I enjoyed like the couple they had at WrestleMania last year. I enjoyed the John Cena Bray Wyatt match. I enjoyed the Undertaker AJ Styles match. They were different. They were unique. And you wouldn't have had those if it wasn't for the fact that there were no crowds. And I think even to a certain degree, there are a number of wrestlers who either wouldn't have gotten pushed, or their push would have ended a lot sooner when it didn't get over right away, that ended up getting a chance because there was no bar to measure it against. You know what I mean? Like, look, we all know that Vince McMahon is sitting there with the headphones on during the entirety of Raw, during the entirety of SmackDown, pay-per-views, all of that. So when there's a live audience, he knows when something's dead on arrival. He knows when something's not getting over. If Apollo Crews and Big E are out there and you can hear a pin drop, Vince McMahon knows. And guess what? That's going to lead him to be like, all right, let's take the title off of Apollo. All right, maybe Big E's not actually where we think he should be for getting a big push. All that kind of stuff. They don't have that right now. There are no live crowds to gauge. There are no audience reactions to measure things against. WrestleMania was the first time where you had that, and for a lot of those acts, I bet it's the first time where Vince and all of them actually got to be like, hey, how over are these? Like is what we're doing with AJ Styles and Omos actually working? Is this guy like over, or is it gonna be nothing? So I think that's been interesting. Like, I'm gonna say like someone like Apollo Crews, who I love. I've loved Apollo Crews forever. And I've wanted to see him get pushed forever. I've seen him get pushes that ended after a month because the audience just didn't get that into it. I think that would have happened now. I think that his current character and everything, they would have given it a try. It wouldn't have gone over that quickly, and they would have probably killed it after about a month. Instead, because of the world that we live in, why not invest more time in it? What else do you got to invest in? You got 2 hours of TV to kill anyway. And hopefully, like, the reaction at WrestleMania and stuff, I mean, he's still champion. So, obviously, something went well there. But they're also not on WrestleMania Backlash, so who knows? But, like, I think that's been fun. Like, I think, like, Bailey's work has been amazing. I think seeing guys like Apollo Crews, like, for a little while there, Austin Theory, even though now he's just over on NXT. There's a number of talents who I think wouldn't have gotten a chance otherwise, but did here, and I appreciated that.
My number one moment, I guess, of the pandemic era is New Japan pulling the trigger on Will Ospreay to be the IWGP Unified Heavyweight Champion. It's kind of what Joe said. Like, they took a chance on something that may not have happened if we didn't have like a real audience or real fans for every show. I know Japan's kind of been a little bit more progressive with, okay, we can have some people, but not a lot, up until recently with their whole state of emergency that's going on.
Can we just, for a second, I'm no scientist, and I 100%, I've had COVID. I just got the vaccine for COVID. But where's the science behind we can have fans in the audience? They just can't open their mouths and cheer. Like, that somehow is an extra level of protection. Because that's how it is in Japan. It's like we can have audiences, but they're only allowed to clap their hands. They're not allowed to boo. They're not allowed to cheer because COVID. That one doesn't make sense to me.
Saliva, dog. Saliva. Spit.
Same as you can't scream on a roller coaster.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I like the fact that they took the chances on some things.
Yeah.
Will Ospreay getting the title, Shingo Takagi being the guy who we just wrestled in a main event match. New Japan has gotten kind of stale, and me and Joe can attest to this because we sit up and watch a lot of fucking Wrestle Kingdoms. You keep getting the same 4 guys fighting for the world title. It's like, I'm kind of over this.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see them take a chance and put it on, a newly heel Will Ospreay with his faction, and to put Shingo in the world title picture when LIJ has Tetsuya Naito, and Sonata and guys like that. Putting Shingo in there was something completely different, and I love the fact that they did it. Also, big fan of the Becky Lynch announcing that she was pregnant as her relinquishing the title to Asuka. That was a really good feel-good moment. Was fun.
Say for the record, just because you said it about New Japan and it just came into my head, I'm pretty sure Sonata at some point put his big toe in Gato's noodles or something, because that man is never going to get pushed for the world title, even though he should be.
No.
All right, continue.
Trying to think if there's any more just offhand ones that I don't have to sit here and think too hard on. I think the one, the companies, not just New Japan, but people taking chances and, signing, people. AEW bringing in Ethan Page, because of Impact, letting his contract up and stuff like that. Like, the WWE releases from last year, where those people are at now, seeing that, Miro wins himself some piece of gold tonight. Like, oh, cool. Got to see him do that, but now it's like, it sucks that more people lost their jobs. And I think that's something that I'm like,
yeah,
that's something that, like, you don't want to remember from this era, but like, it happened. Like, you have to take the good with the bads. Like, you have to take like, that was memorable, but that was also memorable because this happened and it kind of sucked.
I got a sad one for you. It's sad because of what it is, but the truth is, the entirety of Brody Lee's AEW run is during the pandemic era. That never saw like a live audience more than just the Daily's Place like wrestling crew.
Right.
I don't even think there was anyone really in the stands for any of that stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
Another one that I sit here and I've been thinking about, since we started the topic. When you think about with AEW, the emergence of some of the guys that they've had, we watched guys like Orange Cassidy at like Evolve 80.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure we watched him under a different act before. You know.
Yeah.
In a company where it's like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. You know, seeing where those guys are at now. Like, I don't necessarily say that these guys are my guys, but second year we ever went to WrestleMania, I got, people to Tebow with me as a joke. Joe can attest to it. Tebowing killed Roman.
You take it very seriously. What are you talking about, a joke?
No.
To this day, you don't like Ricochet.
Thank you.
Because he wouldn't Tebow with you.
Okay. The Tebowing was a joke. Him being a dick about telling me no, fuck that guy. But I mean, when you.
By the way, my son loves Ricochet. The Ricochet toy got him for his birthday. Yeah.
I love that. So it's like, this is the era where it's like, oh, those are my guys. Brian, Johnny Gargano. I'm one of the biggest Johnny guys in the world. Joe can attest to that. I was Johnny through and through 8.5 years ago at WrestleMania fucking Miami. Whenever, he was the first one that I got to Tebow with me.
Eddie Kingston.
Hollow.
Yes.
War King.
I've been watching him since 2008. I thought he was for real gonna mug that ant.
I thought it was too.
To me,
it's seeing the guys that I watched at Evolve and Ring of Honor and Chikara and stuff like that, getting the national attention that it's like, they deserve that, but they also got it because this is an era where they were able to take chances.
Yeah.
On people. And that's the thing. If half of these guys go back to being relatively unused or back down the card when this is all said and done, I'll look back at this 13-month window and I'll go, that 13-month window was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It will be one of those things where it's like, you can say that, Johnny Gargano never win the Universal title, never win the WWE title. Probably deserves to because he's a really fucking good wrestler, but I digress. But, remember that run that he had in NXT where he was the first ever Grand Slam champion and the shit that he was doing with the Way and stuff like that. And Jon Moxley from CZW Deathmatch to an AEW World title run. It's just one of those where it's like, yeah, he had his 2-month reign when he was WWE champion and then, got murdered by Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins and anybody else that had a pulse. But to see Moxley really get a real title run, those are the moments where it's like, oh, hell yeah. I like that. I hate the fact that the fucking Young Bucks are using the same fucking heel gimmick that they've been using since 1985 as I watch their match right now on TV. But
tassels.
They're not wearing tassels tonight.
Oh, no, really?
It's not tassels. It's frilly sides. They're not Ultimate Warrior tassels.
So, real quick, to me, when I think of this whole era, I think of feuds, and I think of what's been the best product presented to me.
Eye for an eye?
To me, it's no, hell no. But to me,
it was actually
it was the era that made me really appreciate Sasha and Bayley. Honestly, the whole storyline from them being tag team together into the combination of the Hell in a Cell match. To me, it was the best match of the entire pandemic. First off, for starters, just the whole feud. Every time I think of the pandemic era, I go back to Bayley and Sasha.
Hold on. As I walk away from the screen, you really just said that a WWE match was the best match of the pandemic? You don't even watch New Japan. What the fuck are you talking about?
That I've seen.
Floating head.
Yeah. Floating head way. You see that? From Scrubs. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, to Joe's point about cinematic matches, I love them. I love the Boneyard match. I love the Firefly Funhouse. I love the Money in the Bank at headquarters.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one before.
I thought that was really cool the way they did it. Even when it was announced, I was like, all right, this is neat. We're gonna see parts of that building that as regular fans we don't get to see. So I thought that was really cool. And talking as kind of everybody has about, feuds and things and utilizing their space. I think it took both companies probably too long to figure out how to use the spaces they were in. But when you look at The Fiend and Alexa Bliss and the way that they use the Thunderdome and like the fact that, I mean, obviously you're pre-recording some spots and matches, but who the fuck cares? Because it's being presented as a TV product.
Exactly.
So when it's presented to me, nobody else is seeing it any different, because we've all been there live when the lights go out and the Undertaker magically appears. We've all seen him hop out and, from under the apron and roll into the ring and stand his old ass up. And so like when you're there, it's not, and the building's not even that dark. So like when the TV product, it's a TV show. So the live crowd, there's something taken away. So the fact that we're all watching it the same way as it's being presented is kind of neat in and of itself as well. So like the Fiend and Alexa are huge in that. And like Roman Reigns. Yeah. We don't get this Roman Reigns without the pandemic.
Yep.
That is true.
If the pandemic doesn't happen and Roman doesn't take time off, and again, as I've said numerous times on 3 Count, for the best of reasons.
Yes.
In 100% reasons. I was him and Sammy and anybody that took time off never had any issue with it. But like, we don't get this Roman Reigns if there's always crowds. We get the same Roman Reigns we've always gotten, because the same answer from WWE is, do you love him? Do you hate him? It doesn't matter. You react to it. Where now it's like they had to do something different. And I think that one of the biggest thing that I'm going to take away, and probably maybe the best thing, like if we look back on this 5 years from now, is the fact that wrestling never went away. Like everything else went away for a while. Our favorite TV shows got bumped back. Movies bumped back. Sports went away for a while.
Yeah.
Wrestling never left. We were given new shows each and every week. And I think there's been some of the best matches that all the companies, I mean, especially WWE, because they're the one who have a long lineage. The companies have put out some of the best matches because they've had to. Because in this era, when there's nobody in the building, you don't have the opportunity to get distracted by a crowd or a chant or a beach ball or whatever. The only product is what's in the ring, is what's in front of you. And, because we always do at the end of the year a top 5 matches of the year countdown for each of us. And it was hard actually for me, because I thought there was a lot of great matches on TV. Like usually it's like, okay, these are the 5 best matches from the 12 pay-per-view events or whatever we had this year.
Right.
There was a lot of great matches, and I think my number 5 was a Daniel Bryan AJ Styles match from a SmackDown in the Performance Center.
Yes, I remember that one.
Because it was that damn good. So like the fact that everybody stood up when they had to and made wrestling as good as it was showed what each company can do.
Right.
Yeah, even Ring of Honor has been fun to watch lately, which honestly, from about 2013 to 2019, I wasn't willing to say. And they had plenty of crowds, not big crowds, but they had plenty of crowds during that time.
Dwindling crowd.
I'm not a fan of the company for about that period of time. I started like getting interested again right before the pandemic, and I've been watching for the most part since they've come back. It works for them. Not having a crowd for Ring of Honor works. And you're right. Like, I just feel like every company kind of had to think of different ways to do things. Like, honestly, I kind of hope NXT never leaves the setup they have right now.
I don't think they are.
I think it's fantastic.
I hope not. Like, honestly, it's kind of more fun than Wholesale ever was. It's like got a Fight Club vibe to it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to stay there, and I think that's why they did the overhaul they did on it.
Yeah, I hope so, honestly, because like that, and that was thinking outside the box for them. That was, okay, we don't want to look like Raw or SmackDown, but also, too, like, we got to do something because we can't just be, at the Performance
Center. Right.
So, yeah, like, I kind of hope stuff like that, kind of sticks around in a lot of ways,
Right.